Hi and welcome to the Future Leap podcast. My name is Hable and I am the Marketing and Communications Manager for Future Leap. I am here with Katherine Piper, who is the Director of Partnerships and Head of Sustainability at Future Leap.
Hello, good to see you.
And our guests today are Paul Wiseall, Head of Tedex Bristol, and one of the Tedex 2023 speakers, Anurita Chandola. So I'm going to do a quick plug for Tedex Bristol.
Excellent.
Tedex is happening on the 18th of November at the SS Great Britain, and it will be the first Tedex Bristol since 2019. So where can people get tickets, Paul?
Tickets are available at tedxbristol.co.uk. So if you head there, you can get tickets, but you can also find out about our speakers this year. So we've got a whole day of talks and events and things, and you buy a ticket for a session. Each session gives you 6 amazing speakers, and then once you've been inspired, hopefully, you can then go and explore the museum and the SS Great Britain ship and be further inspired and really have a big day out. That's the plan.
That sounds amazing.
Should be fun.
So at Future Leap, our mission is to give organizations the space, knowledge, contacts and tools to accelerate their sustainability journey and progress towards net zero. TEDx is all about spreading ideas, and as far as I'm aware, ideas don't have a carbon footprint. So why is sustainability important to an organization like TEDx?
Well, it's fundamental. It's absolutely at the core of everything, because what we're trying to do in bringing TEDx back is find the best and brightest ideas that are happening in this city and really champion them. And one of the most important things that everybody is talking about is sustainability, and how do we build a better future that we can, save for the next generations ahead of us. So that was really core when we were talking about, what sort of talks and things that we're looking for.
That's amazing. It's great to know that it's so at the core of TEDx as well as Future Leap, and that it's just needs to be common practice.
Completely agree. And that's one of the most exciting things when we first started talking to you folks, was just what we could do together. Because you're right, it was, an idea itself has no carbon footprint, but the impact it can do, whether it has a positive impact and makes things better, which I'm hoping a whole bunch of our speakers, which we can talk about in a bit, will actually be able to bring, or whether it has a more negative one, because we are putting on an event, right? And having an event there, having people come along, all of those things will have an impact. So it was important for us to understand what that might be and go in with our eyes open, knowing we're probably not going to get it perfectly right, but we can try from the outset. And that's when we started talking to you folks at Future Leap, and it's been brilliant since,
Amazing. I think this is also the perfect segue to hand over to Katherine to talk about how Future Leap can help an organization like TEDx to progress its sustainability. Because like you say, it's also really important to approach it from a point of we're not going to do it perfectly. I think the vulnerability in that is really important. We're not going to get it right from the start, but we have to start somewhere. So where can we start?
Yeah, well, first, I guess I wanted to say I'm absolutely delighted that Future Leap are partnering with Tedex Bristol. It is so important that is at the top of all decisions that any business is making, but particularly with Tedex Bristol, because you have such a platform, you have such an ability to get messages out there to a wide audience. We're just absolutely chuffed that you guys are sort of working with us. So just to give a quick summary maybe about how we're working together. Any of our speakers that come along and speak on the day, any of your speakers rather, not our speakers, will automatically get membership to Future Leap's membership. So that's a real opportunity. You get to come to our events for free, amongst other things. The other thing that we're doing is that we're working with our consultants at Future Leap to look at, like you were saying, look at the sustainability of TEDx Bristol. And there's various different ways that we can look at that. We've opted to take quite a holistic approach around sort of climate action that TEDx Bristol might be able to take. of course, we're going to be doing some data analysis, which is the main thing that you would do around carbon footprinting, is pulling all of that data together, seeing where your biggest impacts are, and then addressing those as your priority. So we will be doing that, but we're also taking quite a strategic approach to sustainability. So we'll be helping Tedex Bristol to develop a climate strategy. And the pillars of that strategy that we'll be looking at are around energy, travel. Now, travel is a big one when you're bringing a lot of people into one location, and how can we sort of affect behaviour change and make things better for those who are attending. We'll also be looking at waste and recycling and resources, maybe looking at how we can sort of influence the circular economy. And then looking at partnerships. So, of course, we've got a partnership, but there's going to be a lot of networking and partnerships going on within that space. And we'll also be looking at how you partner with, for example, the venue host, the SS Great Britain, how you partner with others who you're procuring services and products from, and what are they doing around their sustainability. So that's the overarching sort of flavour, really, of how we would address sort of a climate action plan. And I guess the good thing about us partnering together with Tedex Bristol is that we put on weekly events on different sustainability topics ourselves. So we've got a whole events team who always have sustainability as paramount with any of the events that they deliver. So we'll actually be replicating quite a lot of the stuff that we do within our events and sort of sharing our learnings really over the years, so that you guys can sort of have a think about what you want to adopt yourselves as well.
Amazing. Oh, this sounds really exciting. We're so excited to be working with you. The thing that I've certainly found, I'm going to throw this over to Anurita in a moment, because I am not an expert in anything sustainability, which is why I'm pleased to be working with you folks. I don't profess to know anything, which is why I'm, but I'm keen to get it right.
Yeah.
And actually, especially when we do have people like Anurita and Neil Morris, Mark Loveridge, Carlos Ayala, all doing incredible things in sustainability. It's important that we get that right.
And give them that opportunity to really showcase what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And I think it's so great that you're focusing on sustainability from the start. And that is how things should be. And even with my practice, I do actually focus on how you can think about sustainable practices from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's great that we
it's what every business should be doing, and I always quote Mark Carney in all of the presentations that I deliver, so sorry if you've heard this before, but former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney, he had his finger on the pulse of what's happening in terms of climate emergency and ecological emergency, and years ago now he said that companies that don't adapt will go bankrupt without question, and that this is not a niche part of the economy. It's a whole economy transition. We all need to be transitioning and thinking about our sustainability. So I'm just absolutely chuffed that you've got a whole sustainability section within Tedex Bristol where we can really be showcasing that.
Completely. And as I said, there's a number of things that were fundamental when we first started planning this. So I took this over at the start of this year. I've never ran a TEDx event before. I was lucky enough to speak at one in 2019.
Okay.
And that was it. And I thought, okay, cool. Can I get involved with the next one? And then it wasn't looking like it was likely to happen in Bristol this year.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, that's my opportunity to jump in and make this happen, because there's so many amazing things happening in this city. But then I had to look at, what do I know and what do I not know? And one of those lists was a lot longer, and it was the one I do not know. So I'm very lucky to have partners around production supporting us, around inclusivity and diversity, making sure that we get certain things, like even down to the colour of the mic on the day, to make sure that it is inclusive. And then that's when we're working with you folks to help us understand, what do we do from the outset? And again, like we said, we're not going to get it right this year, but we'll do our best, and next time we can do it even better.
And I think it's fair to say that none of us have got it right. We're all on that journey, and the good thing is that you're starting to consider it, and like you said, taking it from the very start, thinking about sustainability from the outset of how you deliver your service in this case, but it can relate to products or any form of business really. So yeah.
I think that's the commonality between Future Leap and Tedex. There's lots of people with ideas and lots of people that want to share their knowledge and connect with other people that are doing things differently.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, Anurita, about your practice.
So I currently research and design clothes and textiles for the future space travelers. We are all talking about space travel, living on Mars, and there's a lot of focus that has been put on creating the spacesuit, but very limited time and efforts have been considered to think about the clothing that you would wear inside your space vessels, inside your home on Mars. And every tiny things need to be thought of. Even the fiber that you would have would somehow interfere with the oxygen that you have inside your Martian house, or the dyes that you have on your clothing would end up killing the plants that you have growing inside your home. So everything needs to be thought of, and that's where my practice comes in. And I'm trying to use technology and sustainable practices that I learned from my mother and my grandmother, and try to go back from scratch and create sustainable textiles and clothing for Mars.
And one thing that really struck me when I was researching your work was that you described yourself as a maker. And obviously, fast fashion is made fast and often badly with unsustainable materials. But there's also an element of not just preservation in terms of sustainability, but also culturally, because there's a lot of practices, I imagine, in your heritage that take a long time. And that produce garments and textiles that are very unique. So is there an element in your practice where it's not just about sustainability, but also about cultural preservation?
Absolutely. So every technique that I use comes from my background and things that I have learned from my family. And I've grown up in a household where I've seen my mom make things for my brother, and then they would be passed on to me, or making socks for us, or even mending old clothing that might be torn. And I'm just used to living like that. And one day you would have a fancy outfit that you would wear outside, and then it becomes your clothing that you would wear at home, and then it becomes your pajamas, and then suddenly one day you'll see it becomes a duster for dusting the dust.
My grandma also did this.
Yes. So I've grown up, and this is what was a common practice and normal thing in my household. And suddenly now, with having very cheap options available for us to buy, we just sort of don't use those old clothing. It's easier to throw them away and not buy a nice looking washcloth for yourself. But why do we need that? These are certain things that we don't think of while living now, but it's just very simple steps that we can think of now, and every person can do their bit, and it just helps. Imagine the whole world just stops buying dusters and uses their own t-shirts. Imagine how many less items of fabric we would be buying or producing.
Yes.
I guess it's being conscious all the time, isn't it, of every action really that you're taking, and what the implication of that is, and whether you can do things in a better way and sort of a more sustainable manner.
There's such a mindful aspect to sustainability, I think. And I agree, I think there's hardly anything that makes a better cleaning tool than a sock. Because you can really get into those nooks and crannies.
And the towel.
The towel.
Yes. It absorbs the dust and water on the floor really well. So, a top tip for today.
Mine is still too nice, but there's definitely one that I've got my eye on that is definitely going to get degraded, or not even degraded, like re-recruited to the cleaning department. And since you've been talking about everyone can do this, everyone can do their little bit, I would like to ask all of you for your little sustainability hacks, because obviously the climate emergency is huge, and sometimes it can feel really daunting and impossible in the face of it to do anything. But small steps amount to big things. And so I would like to ask all of you for just a little kind of low barrier sustainability hack that you have, that you use in your daily life. Nothing huge, just, you know, a little something. Catherine, I think that you've got a little something that I've heard before.
So a little bit wider than what I will talk about in a second. It's just we have an enormous power, and our power is how we spend our money. It's where we put our money, and that feels like, for me, and it doesn't matter at what level we're talking, that feels like that's a really sort of tangible thing that anyone can do before you make any purchase. Do you need it in the first place? You know, can you repair what you've already got, which you're replacing? Or if you can't repair it, can you buy it secondhand? If you can't buy it secondhand, can you buy the most environmentally responsible option? Now, obviously, I understand that, you know, we are in a cost of living crisis. Sometimes it can be quite challenging, can't it? But giving myself as an example, I guess, and referring back to fashion, I have not bought a new item of clothing for years and years, and but I love fashion, you know. But I'm
Catherine
just
always looks great.
Oh, thank you. I'm just really, really conscious of, okay, do I really need to buy that item of clothing? Maybe not. So I've probably saved myself a lot of money in that way. And that has then meant that I'm able to, for example, buy organic food, which is more expensive. But in actual fact, you know, then you're not only addressing the climate emergency, but also the ecological emergency, because you haven't got, and you're addressing your own health, you know, because you haven't got nasty chemicals going in your body or going in onto the planet. So, you know, that's just an example. Now I'll move on to the hack, which I know that Iris wants me to speak about, which is I try to be as conscious as possible around sustainability in everything that I do, really. So the funny sort of little sustainability hack, I guess, that I've carried out is I've changed my diet. I'm now vegetarian and minimising how much dairy products I consume, but I've also switched my cat's diet. So poor Roger the cat, he now cats do need to eat living animals, but he now has a diet of insects, and actually that gives him everything that he needs, and it's massively reducing his carbon footprint. So and he seems to enjoy it. So the only downside, I guess, is that this food absolutely stinks. So it has to be like locked away in a cupboard. But yeah. So there's my little sustainability hack, which I know you were thinking of.
I think it's just really funny. I've even made my cat sustainable, you know?
Yeah.
Also, excellent name.
Roger.
Roger is an excellent
yeah.
name.
I love a human name on a pet.
Paul, I think that you might have a tiny sustainability hack for us as well that we've spoken about earlier.
Well, I think I do. I've got a couple of bits that I tried to do, but one of which was, so some friends of mine run a coffee company here in Bristol called True Start Coffee. And I've really got into grinding beans at home and really enjoying coffee rather than it just being, you know, a commodity that I burn through 12 cups a day, which used to be the case. And they asked me, what do I do with the grounds? And I said, well, I just put them in the compost bin and then put them out. And they said, no, you should put them on your plants. It's really good for the plants. And I've recently got into plants. I've got a monstera I'm incredibly proud of. Okay. So anything to try and you know, make it better. It works. It works really well. Yeah, it's neat. Yeah.
Did you name your plant?
No, but
you can have Roger.
I was going to say Roger was quite high on the list if I was going to. Maybe Nigel.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Well, I hope that you and Nigel have a really long, wonderful, fruitful relationship with the coffee grounds.
Thank you very much. I hope that's not a soundbite there. That's going to confuse people.
Gareth, leave that in.
I've actually got an extension to your tip. So before imagine we're on Mars having coffee, and you've had your coffee, you've got the ground. Before putting it or feeding it to your plants or composting it, you could extract dyes out of it to dye your fabric.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how I actually dye the fabrics for Mars. So use the bits that you've got, use food waste, onion peels, avocado pits and peels to just create dye. So before throwing it away, give it another life. Is there anything else
Absolutely.
we could get out of it?
What is it that turns things pink? Because when I first spoke to you, you told me about some of these things, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. What is it that turns fabric pink?
So yes, I do use a lot of food waste to dye fabrics because on Mars, these have got zero harmful chemicals in it. So they're going to be very safe for you, for the air you breathe and the plants you've got growing inside. So onion peels, avocado pits and the peel give you a very beautiful pink. So just different variations of pink because every fruit or every food tastes different, so you might get different colors, depths of colors, but you can get amazing colors out of food waste that we just throw away in the bin or compost.
It's incredible. I remember when I was growing up, my family used to dye Easter eggs, and my grandmother would dye them with onion peels. And because of the structure of the onion, they would leave beautiful patterns and beautiful colours, especially also the red onions. And it was just something that she had left over from making dinner for everyone. And it was such a beautiful way of getting colours. And the other thing which she would do would put blossoms and plants on the surface as well to use them for patterns, but also obviously certain blossoms would leave their colour and you would never know what colour it would turn because it changes so much, like you say with the avocado pits. It's incredible what a vibrant colour it produces.
Yes, it does. And it's just such a nice thing to do at home with family, and it's safe. And this is something that we can all try. If you've got an old t-shirt, just try to dye it and give it a new life using your food waste. Yeah.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, guys. I feel like this is a really wholesome point to wrap up this whole thing. I'm definitely going to keep my avocado pits this week.
Yeah. Do some experimenting.
Well, guys, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It's been amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
It really has. So I'm going to do a quick final plug for Future Leap. So this podcast studio that we are in right now is part of Future Leap Media Studios. And we don't just have a podcast studio, we also have a film studio that has an amazing giant infinity green screen and a photography studio. So if you're interested in making your own podcast, your own film, your own video, you can give us a shout and book this space. Just go to futureleap.co.uk. And that's it. Thanks for listening.